Welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. And we just like to welcome you back to this somewhat sudden episode of the Lofi Podcast. And we want to remind you, if you're feeling high, if you're feeling low, or if you're feeling the urge to slap someone, you've got a place to go.
Welcome to the Lofi Podcast. Welcome back to the Lofi Podcast.
Yeah, so we don't usually cover celebrity topics or anything, but we are both pretty avid Twitter users. And anybody who's been on the internet maybe in the past several hours, kind of knows what's been going on. Yeah.
It's the Oscars, but not even the Oscars. What happened at the Oscars that has nothing to do with the Oscars.
And if you don't know what happened at the Oscars, Marcello, why don't you refresh the memory of all our listeners out there?
So we'll put a link in the description, but you definitely saw it. Will Smith rocked Chris Rock. Like, Will Smith straight up just smacked that man in the face while Chris Rock was bringing him up to win an Oscar. So that's really disrespectful again.
A little bit disrespectful, but before we go into Chris's disrespect, I feel like we should tell everybody what led up to the slap.
Yeah, that we need to give full context to the situation.
So Will Smith's lovely wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who hasn't done anything wrong whatsoever, and I will not be commenting on the nature of their relationship at all over the course of this episode, has alopecia. Now, I'm not exactly sure of the nature of alopecia, but one of its common effects is that it makes one's hair fall out.
Yeah.
And Jada Pinkett Smith has been open fairly recently about alopecia and how it has affected her and how it has made her feel. And during the Oscars, Chris Rock, as a comedian does, decided to make a joke at her expense, calling her G.I. Jade.
Yeah, G.I. Jada. And I just want to...
G.I. Jade? He called her G.I. Jada? Yeah.
And I just want to say, like, look, going bald is bad. Even as a dude, it's bad. It's gotta suck as like a woman, to go bald. Like, I'd be pissed there. I can't lie. I'd be more pissed if I was going bald to something called alopecia, because I feel like that's just a bad. And I feel like this is a bad term to start going bald to. Like, I'd hate to say that. No, but she looked in, because of course, everyone's a detective about this matter now. She was like pretty public about it, and I think she tried to own it a little bit, but I'm sure there was a little bit of insecurity there. But I don't know if this was like a largely documented sore spot for her. I don't know if Chris Rock and her have like a history or beef like that. I don't really think that's where it was going from, but that's just speculation from me. So yeah, he made a joke calling, he's a comedian introducing stuff at the Oscars. So he was introducing Will Smith. He made a joke about like the G.I. Joes and like G.I. Jada, it's kind of funny. And then Will Smith straight up just begins walking up to him. And then he just, without saying anything, straight up smacks him in the face. So
just absolutely in the face, in front of the entire Oscars crowd. The reactions, the people's faces during that thing were just so good,
insane. And it's like, I thought it was a joke at first. Like, I thought it was a bit.
See, like, that's the thing. There's people who still aren't sure if it's real.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Do you think it was real?
Yeah, because like, even he just made like, because he has to recover from this. That was straight up real. Chris Rock's face, I think, because like I tried to watch after that too. I think that like indicated to me that it was real, because he was like,
no, he literally just goes, wow.
Shocked. Yeah, he was shocked. I don't even know what I would do though, bro. Like, imagine.
Like, would you get into a fist fight with Will Smith on the stage of the Oscars?
I mean, look. No, I probably wouldn't. I feel like, I know you could take on Will Smith. I can't. I don't have a confidence in that. He lifts, bro.
He lifts. No, but the whole thing was like super crazy because Will Smith slapped this man in front of like the entire country, and then 10 minutes later he like gets up to go collect, I think, an Oscar. Was it like his first Oscar? I think maybe.
I think it was his first Oscar. I mean, it was well deserved for the role he had it in, but
what did he got it for? King Richard, right?
Yeah, for King Richard.
I haven't seen it actually.
Really damn good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, really good. But I think like going. So, what's really interesting about, besides like, okay, Will Smith smacks the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars at an awards ceremony, and then he just goes and receives an Oscar. That's just a big burn. But the interesting part is that what I found so interesting is like, obviously immediately afterwards, Twitter did its job. It made the best jokes.
Oh, absolutely. See, like Twitter was on it immediately. The jokes are still flying. Definitely go check out Twitter if you have not been on it yet. It's incredible.
It's quality content. But what I think is really wild to me is that like 3 to 4 hours, like just a few hours after all the jokes flew, for some reason, a celebrity smacking a celebrity at the Oscars inspired like serious discourse about really serious topics.
It kind of did, didn't it? But I feel like this is usually the cycle for like any major like viral event. The jokes fly out first, and after everybody's had a little bit of time to think about it, all the think pieces come out. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to discuss, the deeper ramifications of this, why these two people were doing like this. Because I've seen so many things. It's like, I saw a tweet that was particularly interesting to me because this person said that the only reason why Twitter is making such a big deal of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock is that it's a normal everyday occurrence and people on the internet aren't used to seeing famous people do stuff like that. And like, I feel like the person was kind of just trying to be smart and like rag against Twitter users, but I think it's kind of a good point. Like, celebrity life seems, aside from like reality TV shows, like the public stuff has always been a very controlled environment. Mm-hmm. Like, we've had incidents like, Kanye and Taylor Swift, or like, I don't know, does anything else come to mind? Like anything? There's like the Janet Jackson nip slip thing, but what was that? That wasn't an award show too. But I don't think we've ever had like a situation where two beloved actors just get on stage and one of them just absolutely bitch slaps the hell out of the other.
Yeah. I think it's like, okay, so everyone's asking for everyone's opinion on this. Like, obviously, this is just my opinion. So if you disagree with me, like you could tweet at me, I guess.
Friendly reminder that the Low High Podcast is not responsible for any emotional damage you may occur from our jokes, opinions, thoughts, or skin color. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We are just here for the good vibes, for the chill vibes. And honestly, I don't think this topic is that serious, which is why we're going to talk about it. But like, I think the part that was strange to me, right? Like, so, okay, Will Smith smacking just somebody smacking another person for saying something wrong. That's not the craziest thing I've ever heard. Doing it at at an awards ceremony, like the Oscars, that's a little whack, right? Like that takes a lot of like chutzpah, right? But the part that confused me was like, he walked up there first, smacked the shit out of him, and then said not to say, and so he smacked him first, and then he was like, don't make those jokes about my wife. And I feel like if you reverse that process, things would have went a little smoother, and it would have been a little fairer,
maybe, but like I feel like he didn't need Chris to see it coming. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna smack this guy, because like he laughed at the joke. That's the thing. Like I saw that too. Like, bro, no, I definitely feel like him laughing at the joke put Chris off guard. Whoa. So when he was walking up,
like, why did he like? What's up with that? You can't just laugh at it. You can go smack the dude who told it.
I don't know. A lot of people on Twitter apparently think that you can.
Yeah.
The whole thing for me is, I think a lot of people are just like stunned, like, oh, the decorum of the event was ruined by this activity. But like, you gotta understand, like, there's multiple perspectives to look at that from. Like, the first thing is like, bro, you can't be talking shit about another man's wife right in front of him.
Facts. Big facts.
But another thing though is that jokes are still jokes.
Yeah.
And there's always been like we've been like over the past couple of years, like a ton of comedians have been called out for like being shitty. And, you know, there's the whole cancel culture thing, the whole argument against comedians. Like, oh, we live in a post-joke society, blah, blah, blah. But people can still make jokes. The thing is that I guess there was always this perception that like jokes are like permanently disconnected from reality. But in fact, if you're making jokes about real stuff, someone's going to get mad. People get mad at jokes all the time. And like Chris Rock himself literally once said that what did he say? Is it that no one is excluded, like no one is immune to an ass whooping, or how exactly he put it?
Yeah.
Like he himself understands, okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna get smacked for talking the way I do one day. Like, but he's made a whole career out of it, so we can't say he's bad at it.
Facts. Yeah. That's really funny that you said that.
Like the way I look at it is that I ultimately see it as a no harm, no foul situation, right? Because Chris got off his jokes and like Will got off that hot slap. Honestly, in my opinion, the slap didn't seem too hard because Chris Rock just kind of like took it and kept pushing. He was like, wow, that just happened. So anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Which he's a champion for, by the way. Like, I don't know how many comedians would just be able to take a full on like face slap out of the blue and then
just keep smiling.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Like, I feel like the way that it just happened, like, bro, okay, so I want to particularly talk about the stance that Will Smith took during this live, bro, because it was so funny. Like, he literally had the whole, like, one leg back, or, like, he turned his hips, like, just smacked this man, like, it was clean, a good follow through.
Bro, the amount of profile pictures I'm seeing as that slap.
I cannot scroll through anything without seeing that slap. Like, it is just...
It's good form.
It's immense. Like, it's immense form,
it's
bro. He's
form.
just done, and he made an incredible play. That's all I can say.
And I think what we're not appreciating even more is this was captured on full, like, beautiful HD, nice lighting. Like this,
like, bro, the budget for the Oscars, like, video is like so high, bro. Yeah. So we're literally gonna have that slap in the best quality, immortalized.
Yeah, this was
throughout all time.
This wasn't off a Samsung in a backyard. Like, this is.
Bro, this is like World Star to its high. Like, bro, World Star walked so that the Oscars could run, okay? Yeah. Like that. Oh, bro. And the thing is that, like, what makes this so shocking? Like, what do you think? Because people see like videos of fights every day. Do you think it's because it's like two famous people?
I just think it's the setting. And I was thinking about this. Like, again, I don't think. Like, Will Smith, there's no question, like, he's not in the wrong. Like, he could slap another person for talking shit about somebody and about somebody you care about, like, no problem, whatever. Like, and especially for comedians, that's kind of a line they walk, yeah? I think it was just the setting that it was in that is so shocking, right? Because, like, you wouldn't expect at an event like the Oscars, you know, where everyone's, like, dressed up in their full suits and stuff like that on national television. You know, it's a big deal. The Oscars, I mean, they're becoming less of a big deal, but like, I think it's really just the setting and how it really came out of nowhere. Because if he was like, yo, shut up, before he smacked him, and then like he kept running his mouth, that would make sense. But instead, he smacked him, and then he was like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Like, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's obvious like why he slapped him. Yeah. But like, see, it's not like if you don't laugh at the joke, you don't get to be mad. But at the same time, you kind of just gotta acknowledge the situation. But like, see, Jado was sitting right there, right? He kind of had to do something or like say something. So he both did something and said something.
I'm just curious to hear Jada's opinion on this. I haven't really heard her.
Yeah, no, they have. Like, and I haven't, bro, you know what's really funny, bro? Literally nobody cares about how Chris Rock feels about the whole thing at all. Like, I don't think anybody has even asked him anything.
I don't think he's even talking about it. I think that's something he wants to move on from.
Literally, people are just giving opinions, and that's how like a lot of this stuff starts nowadays. Like we have the internet, which is supposed to be this huge, massive like repository of information, but like something happens and everybody like is just giving opinions on it, and it's kind of still hard to cut through all the noise.
It's really hard, and like the amount of opinions coming out about this, again, it's actually kind of shocking how educated these opinions are. Like these are like thought out, and they're bringing up big issues. Like a lot of people like on Twitter, I saw, I'm using Twitter really as my point of reference for everything. I just feel like it's a great space, like a great chamber for free thought, and hysterical ones at that. But like a lot of Black women were like, this is great that like a Black man of everyone was actually standing up like for the other person. Like there's been this is the crazy part. He's receiving a lot of praise for those actions. A lot of people are saying like, well, you know, he didn't have to slap him like that, but like people are on Will Smith's side at the same time.
Like I think it's a matter of principle. I think for some people the whole thing's like, oh yeah, if you're a man you gotta protect the woman you're in a relationship with. And for other people it's like, yeah, it's like important to prove that you won't let people talk shit. But then there's the entire like other side of the argument that's like, dude, it was literally just a joke. You can't take a joke. You're a comedy actor, why can't you take a joke?
Yeah.
And then it becomes this whole thing of where exactly is the line and when exactly have you crossed it. And people are like, oh, because it's a relationship. And other people are like, oh, it's because you're at an event. Like somebody was like, oh, somebody brought up like, oh, the decorum of the Oscars. I can't believe somebody would do something like this. And somebody tweeted about this. Apparently at some point, like way back in the past, like a couple decades back, there was a Native American woman who was an actor. And when she was giving her Oscars like acceptance speech or whatever, she talked about how people should stop portraying like Native Americans badly in movies. And it was like, and like John Wayne like wanted to beat her ass for that. And apparently there's like a video you see of like 6 security guards stopping John Wayne from walking on stage at the Oscars and like beating this woman up.
Yo.
And they're talking there's people talking about taking away all of Will Smith's Oscars because of him slapping Chris Rock. But bro, John Wayne got all his Oscars. All the people who've been called out for super scummy stuff over the past couple of years still have their Oscars. So like, why should they take away his?
No, I think he should keep the Oscar again. It was really deserved. But it's interesting because that was another point, you're right, that was brought up. It was like, why did nobody stop Will Smith from walking up there? I think because, I mean, they're colleagues. They're in this, you know, they've worked together before. Like, I don't think anyone thought he was going to walk up there and just smack him in the face. Like, I don't think security like called that one.
Like, has Will Smith ever like hit somebody in public? I don't think so. I don't think it's not on brand for it's not on brand for him, is it?
No, he's from what I'm not like a Will Smith historian, but he's a pretty lovable guy.
Like, I feel like he's always worked on being a little bit approachable, but not too approachable.
Yeah. No.
I remember it was like back in like 2014 or 2016 that some dude like kissed him and he like lightly punched him in the face. But I think like that's it.
That, yeah. But he tweeted, or he published an apology.
He did.
And I'll read it. It says, "Violence in all forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally." So it was the fact that it was a joke about his wife's medical condition. And he also publicly apologizes to Chris. He was wrong, out of line. He feels embarrassed. And his actions were not indicative of the man that he wants to be. There's no place in violence for love and kindness. He also apologized to the Academy. And he apologized to the Williams family and the King Richard, so everyone he worked with on King Richard, because he felt like a dick for that one. And then he also said that he's a work in progress, and he said sincerely, well.
Okay, and like in contrast to that, Chris Rock has an upcoming comedy tour, and it just saw a big spike in ticket sales following the slap.
Oh yeah.
So people are fully expecting Chris Rock to talk about this. Do you think he's gonna make any jokes about getting slapped at the Oscars?
I hope he does. I
think they're gonna be great if he does. If he just owns it, I think it can just launch a whole new thing. Because I feel like this is definitely gonna have some kind of cultural impact.
It has.
We're definitely gonna hear some rapper like within the next 12 months be like, oh, smack a nigga like I'm Will Smith. Like, man,
bro, dude, talk. Yeah, you think we've lived through historic events these past 2 years? Nah, this is it. This is the one that's going to be in the books.
It's not the wars, it's not the nukes, it's not the technology, it's not the money. Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars will be immortalized in human history forever.
I literally cannot wait to like look at a textbook in the future and just see that screenshot. It's gonna be the best.
It's gonna be immaculate to see. Our children are gonna come home like, Daddy, who's Will Smith? And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you an amazing story.
Yeah. No, I feel like we'll move on from it though, to be honest. Like
somebody's probably gonna do something even more outrageous within the next couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah. I don't even want to know. I don't know what's gonna like take that spotlight. I didn't even know the Oscars were happening, to be honest. And then
like literally, I don't know any single thing that happened at the Oscars. I don't know who won. I don't know what films were being nominated. I think they did like a live action show of We Don't Talk About Bruno though.
I can't
from that movie Encanto, and I'm like, bro, like, that must have been pretty fun. Encanto is a pretty good movie, but that song got stuck in my head for so long.
I know, bro. That song was up there. That movie was awesome, but like the song was just, it's such a good song too. That's the part that sucks. It's like I can't even be pissed about having it in my head.
Like, but bro, we don't want to talk about Bruno all the time, man. Like
23, bro. I can't be singing Disney songs.
Literally, like I can't have that stuff appearing in my YouTube playlist right after Chief Keef, bro. Like, what are people gonna think?
Really? It's like Little Doll, Disney.
No. Bro, like the transition between Disney songs and rap music, that's just gonna have to, somebody's gonna need to research that. Like, what, somebody just needs to make a playlist that's only rap bangers, but there's one Disney song in between every rap song, and the transition just needs to be perfect.
Can't wait for the DJs to get on that.
Bro, somebody needs to make, there's definitely gonna be a trap remix of the audio of the Will Smith slap. It's just gonna be the slap played over and over and over, and somebody's gonna be rapping on the beat, and it's gonna get like 50 billion views.
Oh, for sure. Just like this episode, millions.
Oh, of course.
Billions.
Have you ever wanted to slap a comedian?
No.
Like no famous comedian has ever told a joke and been like, you should get like pimp slapped for that.
Dude, like I feel like when it comes to comedy, I'm really, really forgiving, which I probably shouldn't be, but like I just think it's one of those arts that's like gonna be offensive, like they have an hour, most specials, it's like a 30 minutes to an hour. They have a story they're trying to tell, something they're trying to accomplish, and they're gonna, like that's the worst part about comedy. It's totally reactionary. Like you can make a joke, and depending on how that audience reacts to it is kind of what you have to go off of. And then, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough job. I don't know.
I remember Bill Burr, the comedian Bill Burr.
Yeah.
He told a story of he had this joke about veterans, and he decided that he would test out the joke while doing a gig at a veterans conference. And so he told the joke, and he said that it killed at the thing, that like people were laughing their asses off. Mm-hmm. But then he goes and he performs the jokes for regular people, and someone just gets super mad at him. Yeah. So Walter was like, you can't say that, blah, blah, blah. And like that really just highlights the reactionary nature of comedy. Like the joke doesn't even have to be about you. But like if you just dislike it, some people will just take that to the max.
Yeah. And what's even like, it's an interesting concept because I was watching the stand-up comedy from a, trans comedian, and really she was ragging on herself a lot, and apparently the trans community hated that, or some people really didn't like that, but other people really liked that, so there's just, you can't please everybody. And I think with comedy you're really going to hit home for a lot of people, but in order to hit home you got to piss off people as well, and vice versa. So
I think so. Like I feel like it does involve like a lot of testing the waters for you to like figure out what works. And even if you figure out what works, it's not going to work for everybody.
Well, yeah. So like I watched, like there's a lot of stand-up comedy on my TikTok feed, which is what I'm honestly not mad about it. And this one stand-up comedian he did this thing. He did a short bit on like the pyramids being built in Egypt. And he's like, there's everyone's so confused, like how did it get there? Like aliens, whatever. He said there's pyramids in Mexico, but nobody questions that shit. Like obviously Mexicans did it. They have great work ethic. And
bro,
I know. And I was like, okay, that's pretty clever. He like went a little further into it, and I found it funny, right? Like obviously I don't hate Mexicans. And so I sent it to some friends, and they were like, wow, good thing he was Mexican, or he wouldn't have been able to make that joke. And I was like, I didn't even know if he was Mexican, but I just took their word for it.
Oh my God.
Okay. But like that's the other big part of like I feel like that's a huge thing in comedy, right? Like it's interesting how people say like it's okay for you to say this, if like where are the parameters for what you can and can't say in comedy? Do you have any thoughts on this? I know it's kind of tough. It's a tough one, but
it's like a tough one to like decide, because a lot of stuff in comedy can be considered like free reign, right? You can talk about people's weight, you can talk about racial stuff. You can talk about racial stuff a lot less now.
Mm-hmm.
Like definitely, because people are like calling people out a lot more. Mm-hmm. And people are like taking a lot more offense to things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like this whole movement of like, people calling out comedians have made people feel like their opinions matter a lot more than they actually do in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like because of that, people are becoming like a lot more judgmental of the people who entertain them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I saw this whole post like that was talking about, why should I need to like be nice to celebrities? Like, or why should I like let a celebrity do this? How about they're literally like a court jester to entertain me? Like they don't do anything like productive for society, blah, blah, blah. And the whole thing is that we've talked about this before. Like you can't like demand a service from somebody while also degrading the person for providing you that service.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that celebrities get like a lot of benefits. Like you can't, like they are serving society in a way, but they're not doing any like manual labor. They're not like feeding people. They're not like providing stuff. And like comedians, and I feel like comedians like in a way are kind of like at the lower tier of celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they're like, oh, this is just the funny man that walks up and like make jokes. Like why should I take him seriously? But the thing is, like people don't take them seriously, but as soon as they do take it, when the comedian says something that they find worth taking seriously, it's always like in the worst way, right?
Yeah. I totally agree. I feel like people like to complain more than they like to appreciate.
No, definitely. And I feel like maybe it's kind of an extreme reaction to just how loose the rules of how you can talk about people have really been for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like compared to like literally like 20 years ago, like stuff that people are saying right now, like everybody's watching what they're saying, even at comedy shows. Like people, like I remember I was watching one of Eddie Murphy's comedy shows from like way back in like the 80s or the 70s or whatever it was when he started out. And he just goes on this like whole super homophobic bit about like, oh, what if the police were gay? And that's the kind of thing that like, oh bro, if like this kind of thing, like if it came out today, people would be like ripped
tearing it apart.
like absolutely like terrible.
Comedy goes stale fast, right?
Yeah, like that's the thing. I feel like a lot of jokes don't age well. I feel like you can tell like how solid a joke is by how well it ages.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like we have a lot of like dumb basic bitch jokes that have just been in society for like a really like long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially like dad jokes or like stuff like, oh, is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. People still tell that joke to this day. And like I feel like it's equally as unfunny as it as it was then, but it has staying power. You know what I mean?
But like the first time somebody said that had to be like so legendary that it stuck around this long. Like the first.
Oh no, absolutely. Like, bro, I feel like dropping a joke for the first time is like. It's like the comedic equivalent of like discovering a new element. You know what I mean? Like, you know, in Iron Man 2 where he's like all up in his garage, like just building, crafting you're just like that. You're just crafting the perfect funny. And the thing is that, bro, comedy is subjective. So a lot of people's perfect funny is some other people's not funny at all.
Mm-hmm. But like,
and like,
go. You got it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like there are limits, yes, but the thing is that you really like aside from the obvious stuff about like race and gender and like there really isn't like there isn't much of a barrier. There's no goalposts for comedians to hit, so they're just literally gonna throw stuff at the wall.
Yeah, no, completely. I just think it's interesting because like I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't value, like, I've never really felt that my opinion was so necessary as to something somebody else has said that I should go, like, talk about it like that. Like, I just never felt like really had an opinion that's, like, really worth, like, fighting for, especially when it comes to entertainment that I'm consuming. Or, you know, I don't have to consume the entertainment if I don't like to. Obviously, like, there's some that's it's just straight up not cool, right? Like there's words that I can't say, there's words that you can't say.
Definitely.
And if you do, you might just get smacked in the face for it.
Like that's the thing. I feel like what we've learned overall from this experience is that ultimately the line between fucking around and finding out is very thin, and it doesn't depend it doesn't matter what situation you're in. You can still fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Even if you're a celebrity at the Oscars, where nobody's expecting.
Okay, now this was fun to talk about. We'll probably return to our more relaxing content in later episodes, but we definitely thought this was worth talking about. Marcello, do you have any closing remarks regarding this?
Yeah, this was it was breaking news, so we had to be the last to break it.
You know how we do.
Yeah, no, this was a fun episode. Yeah, we're Lohi's back, so.
Yeah, Lohi's back. You'll be seeing a lot more of us.
Well,
and
you won't see us.
You'll hear us. You might see us, if we ever figure out YouTube or something.
Very true. We've been screaming into our pillows to make our voices deeper, a little sexier for the podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely. We think the ladies are definitely gonna love it.
Mm-hmm. Or the guys, whoever wants it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep screaming. So like maybe 3 episodes from now, we're both just gonna sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. Yeah. Or who has a really deep voice?
Pop Smoke.
R.I.P. Pop Smoke. Bro. We're each just gonna sound like we smoke 50,000 cigarettes a day. Like, welcome to the Lofi Podcast.
Dude, his puberty must have been insane. Like seriously, that was definitely like some next day shit where he was like, "All right, Mom, I'll see you tomorrow." And like, yo, I can't even do it. Like,
he's just like, woo. Yeah. Like, bro, I swear to God, I feel like the first time anybody he knew heard Pop Smoke's voice post puberty, definitely like physically reacted to his voice. They're like, Jesus, dude, like how?
The thing is, like, that's like a scary voice. I can't lie. Like, that's just I'd be scared no matter what the situation was. You'd be like, yo, I can't even do it. Be like, happy birthday, bro. Fuck.
Bro, if somebody I knew who had like a relatively normal voice just shows up with sounding like fucking Batman, I'm definitely gonna have questions.
Okay, real quick though, before we end this episode, what is up with Batman always sounding like he's like actively chewing on Like, I don't like what's up with his voice just being like,
Like, I feel like I have not seen the new Batman movie yet, so no spoilers, but I've heard it's really good. I think that, like, Batman's voice is just basically the idea of what, like, a rich, sheltered white dude would find intimidating. It's like, where's the Joker? Because I feel like if you just use that voice on somebody who has, like, $1 million that they never earned and, like, never has done anything actually scary in their life, you're like, oh yeah, that probably, like, really scare them.
yeah, facts. And then he's literally like fighting some of the scariest people in the world.
Like, bro, if I was like an actual criminal and I heard, like, I didn't know about Batman and I saw this man pull up in this costume and use the voice, I would laugh so hard. I would start breaking down immediately. Like, but then he'd probably like break my legs or something.
Yeah, very unfortunate. But like realistically, if you encountered any real life superhero, unless it was like Iron Man, that's intimidating. But like if I saw anybody in a costume try to stop me, I'd probably laugh at first.
Have you seen that show Peacemaker with John Cena?
No, it looks so good.
But it is so good. Highly recommend that you watch it. Everybody watch Peacemaker. One of my favorite things about this show, right, is just like how much they make the costumes stick out when they're surrounded by regular people. Like they look ridiculous. It's so funny.
That's the best. That is the best.
Man. Life, like everybody looks a little bit ridiculous sometimes. So why not laugh at it?
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what life is about. You gotta laugh at the small things. Like that makes it worth it. But yeah, I guess we can wrap now. And speaking of the Oscars, on a totally awesome note, if you haven't seen it won the best short is The Long Goodbye by Riz Ahmed. Highly recommend. He also had the best Oscar speech for a while, so check it out. And
please culture yourself.
Culture yourself, yeah. We're so cultured here. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely cultured. Yeah, it's really awesome to check out. I'm a big fan of his work. That was an unnecessary plug, but
yeah. So anyway, we want to thank the 10 of you who are left listening to this podcast for joining us, and we just want to remind you that if you're feeling high if you're feeling low, you've always got a place to go. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll see you next time. All right, I think that was good.
That was really good. I feel good about that one.